Ladies and gentlemen, this is either the stupidest idea I've ever had for a video, or I'm a genius and I've unlocked the code to guessing who the next world bosses will be. Let's get into it. So you guys are all familiar with CTPs by now. If you've played Marvel Future Fight for more than a couple of days, you know CTPs are a big part of how you get characters' power. And to aid in the farming of CTPs, they have been strategically added to various World Boss Legend stages. Now, the CTPs themselves have had a release schedule for the mighty and brilliant versions that have not allowed certain CTPs to appear until a specific time, which disallows them from being in certain World Boss Legends. Yes, I know. So for example, like the Rage CTP was one of the last CTPs, and Insight was the last CTP to get reforged, so of course it couldn't appear as the CTP for Null, World Boss Legend, and so on and so forth. But aside from that, I will posit the following idea. The CTPs are actually reflections of the characters themselves. The bosses, if you will. Now, this may seem like a stretch, and for Null, I don't have the best argument in the world for why it's energy. And when I say energy, I mean more like just the understanding of what energy is, not in relation to the Celestial that this CTP is based on. Because if you guys follow the actual lore of CTPs, there's Celestial tech packs, and they actually all look like the different Celestials that we have. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, and probably best illustrated by Mephisto, is the fact that they gave him regeneration. Now, what does Mephisto do in the fight? He revives or regenerates not once, but twice. Pretty crazy, right? Okay, you're like, okay, Alex, that's just purely a coincidence, right? This can't actually happen again, right? Oh, look at this. What did they give Ultron, which was such a random World Boss Legend? They gave him Destruction. What is Infinity Ultron trying to do in the What If series? Isn't he trying to destroy the multiverse? Isn't his goal destruction? Huh! That's kind of weird, Alex. Holy shit. And now the pieces of the puzzle start to materialize in my mind inside of this big, white, bright room. Now, we get a little bit less... No, wait, we get even more on the nose when we look at what Gore's is. Because you're thinking for Gore, you're probably scratching your head. You're like, huh, Mephisto deals elemental damage. He would have been a great option for Judgment. And Judgment had already come out when Mephisto came out as a World Boss Legend, so why didn't they give Judgment to Mephisto? Huh, why didn't they wait to give Judgment to Jean? Because Jean also deals elemental damage. Huh, that's weird. Wait a minute, what does Gore do? What does Gore do when he gets the Necro Sword and he has the power to, you know, avenge his fallen, you know, not only his family, but his race, the entire species that was basically abandoned by the gods? Oh, does he pass judgment on the gods? Does he pass final judgment on the gods and kill them? Huh. That makes a whole lot of sense. Holy shit. We feel like the new rock stars over here because we are pulling this shit straight out of the toilet and it's going right up on the wall on the fridge with a magnet. It's pretty crazy. Mephisto, Ultron, and Gore fit this perfectly. I got it perfectly. Null is a little bit shaky. Jean is a little bit shaky because the Phoenix Force, I would argue, is more of like a rage monster, the Phoenix Force. But Authority is not a bad option. Now, in my opinion, Authority might have been better saved for Kang because of the TVA, right? Which is the Time Authority, right? TVA, okay. That's cool. But at the same time, Greed also fits Kang because he's so greedy for time. He wants to master time, which is like one of the ultimate forms of greed, right? Because you can literally just live forever and blah, 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 blah. You can go back and forth in time, right? That level of greed and that level of mastery unlocks infinite greed in all other aspects, you know, monetarily, whatever, all that other stuff. So that's pretty cool. Like, it seems like at least 4 of the CTPs, 4 of the 6 CTPs very thematically fit the bosses. Very much so. And it would have been 5 in a row, except for Jean not exactly fitted, not exactly suited to the Authority CTP. Not exactly. So what does this mean for the game? Now that we've sort of uncovered this mystery, we're Indiana Jones, right, punching Nazis, trying to find the final treasure, the dial of whatever, destiny. We go in and we look at the remaining CTPs. So this is where it gets a lot more interesting. The remaining CTPs here, not including, of course, not including Patience, because this is trash, and not including Transcendence is trash, and not including Veteran, because this is, of course, a whale-only, gambling-only CTP that they've never allowed to be anywhere else, right? So what does that leave us with? Well, in the immediate future, it leaves us with the egg or refinement. So think about what refinement means to you from a Marvel villain perspective. And then we're left with rage. Think about which villains come to mind when you think of Marvel and you think of rage. All right? Okay, you're following me here? Now, okay, listen, I know Insight is here as well, but we're going to leave Insight to another video because I didn't have a lot of ideas for Insight, to be honest. Well, I have one idea for Insight, which is Leader. Okay, but I didn't think Leader was a very good idea for a boss. So, you know, shoot me if you want. But I have some great ideas for Rage and Refinement, okay? So kicking it off with Refinement, we have Apocalypse. Now, I know what you're thinking. Apocalypse is already a world boss. However, they can transform him into a world boss legend. And to support this idea, Apocalypse has actually gotten a rework visually in the comics. And there's actually a new comic run, you know, of course, birthed from the House of X, Powers of 10, reset with Krakoa and stuff, called the Heralds of Apocalypse. So they're going down that storyline again, where Apocalypse is amassing, you know, massive amounts of power, and he has his acolytes, the horsemen, who are going to do his bidding, and he like infuses them with power, whatever. Now, whether they're going to be like the traditional horsemen like Storm and Rogue and blah blah blah, or whether they're going to be new, I don't know. I'm not following the comic series, but this is certainly a golden opportunity to give Apocalypse a tier 4, to give him a new uniform, and to potentially upgrade his world boss stage from being just a regular crummy world boss stage into being a legend stage. And what's interesting is that Apocalypse is one of the stages that you have to complete in order to unlock Null. And that kicks off the cycle, because then you use Null to unlock Mephisto, you use Mephisto to unlock Ultron, blah, 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 blah. So he's sort of like the precursor to the Legends anyways. And of course, Refinement fits Apocalypse perfectly because he's constantly healing and regenerating, right? His vitality is endless. He doesn't really die. He goes into this prolonged hibernation, right? And he waits years and years, and then he returns. So yeah, Egg is a pretty good idea here. But I do have another idea for Egg, Refinement, and it's Super Skrull. Now, if you haven't been following things for the Disney Plus side, Secret Invasion is going on right now, and Secret Invasion is, of course, centered around the Skrulls on Earth. And when you have Skrulls, you're only a few stepping stones away from Super Skrull. And of course, Super Skrull is directly tied to Fantastic Four, because Super Skrull has the powers of the Fantastic Four. Johnny, you know, Thing, Sue, whatever, right? So, whether or not Secret Invasion is going to introduce Super Skrull, I don't know. Not going to spoil anything, or not going to speculate on anything, whatever. But we're not far away from this. And although Marvel has struggled with casting for Fantastic Four, it's probably going to ramp up eventually. So I could absolutely see Super Skrull being added, whether tied to Secret Invasion, or whether it's tied to the Fantastic Four movie, or whether it's a precursor to the Fantastic Four movie. I could definitely see them adding Super Skrull as a World Boss Legend that drops the Refinement CTP, because Refinement has another, you know, interpretation where you're refining something, you're perfecting it. And Super Skrull is literally the embodiment of perfection, right? Because he's not only a Skrull, but he's like a Super Skrull. He's like the pinnacle of their race, and he's also combined with human powers and human characteristics. So, yeah, I think these are genius ideas. But now we move on to the other CTP on this list, of course, which is Rage. So which villains do you think embody Rage? I think an easy choice for this right out of the gate is Onslaught. Easy choice here. Onslaught is one of the scariest Marvel villains in the universe, and also one of the strongest. If you guys don't know, he is a psionic being, so he has like physical form, but he's technically like a mind meld of Professor X, Charles Xavier, and Magneto, Eric Lencher. So imagine the two of the strongest mutants, right? Base power mutants, not like Phoenix Force empowered shit. Two of the strongest mutants ever, Omega level badasses, and their brains, their consciousness, or actually parts of their consciousness combined together. Onslaught is released. Pretty scary, I know. So, and trust me, Onslaught's rage is second to very few. Now here's probably a better visual representation of what Onslaught is. But as you can see from Kurt's face, he's not really happy to see Onslaught. He's pretty scary. So Onslaught, rage, very easy to pair those two ideas together. Very thematic. On top of that, Onslaught recently got kind of a bad visual rework, but he did get a visual rework in the comics. He looks like a giant gumball machine in my opinion. But this is, I guess, what they're going with for the time being. I don't know if this is going to be a reveal for something later or what, or maybe I've misinterpreted it and this is not actually a redesign for the character. I think it looks really ugly, to be honest, compared to this. But either way, I think Onslaught would be a fantastic choice for a World Boss Legend. Again, super powerful and also matches the rage aspect perfectly. But I do have another idea as well. Omega Red. I know a lot of people are going to be happy to hear this one. Omega Red, if you guys don't know, is or was a serial killer in Russia who was then experimented on, etc., etc. Cables coming out of his wrists, all that jazz, all that good stuff. Omega Red is super cool, super strong. Most notably, he's a Wolverine villain. But some of the World Boss Legends are not all that popular. I mean, like, Gore is kind of just a Thor villain, right? He's not actually like a global threat, a universe kind of level threat, the way that Phoenix Force is, right? The way that, at least for a time being, Null was. The way that Mephisto could always be, right? He sort of just lingers in the shadows. So this is definitely a little bit lower on the power scale, especially compared to like Onslaught and stuff like that. But I still think he could be a very cool World Boss Legend, and he certainly fits the... He certainly fits the rage aspect really well. Like, this dude is on Rage-a-Hall 24/7. He just chugs that shit, and he's just constantly raged out. Like, he just has one level, he has one gear, and it's just rage. He's basically like the evil version of Wolverine on steroids. So yeah, those are my ideas. I'm sure you guys have even better ones, so hit me up in the comments down below and let me know who you would choose as the thematic World Boss Legends to represent refinement and represent rage. And if you think that I'm completely cuckoo bonkers, let me know as well. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.